in the tumultuous current of the Kennedy family's curse, after layers of tragedy and untold losses, from Rosemary's hidden ordeal to the valiant deaths of Joe Jr. and Kik, and especially the shocking, sudden demise of the young president, John F. Kennedy, another man stepped forward from the shadow of despair. He bore not only an irreplaceable grief, but also the immense legacy of a dream left unfinished. He was Robert F. Kennedy, or as he was affectionately and intimately known, Bobby. Born the seventh of the 9 Kennedy siblings, Robert initially drew less attention than his elder brother Joe Jr., or even John, who were always the focal points of expectation and scrutiny. In fact, in his early years, Bobby was even considered somewhat aloof, a bit rigid. Yet, the bond between Bobby and Jack, JFK, was a truly special connection. A rare harmony, not just of blood but of mind and ambition. They were not only brothers but also the closest of friends, the most trusted political partners. Bobby played a pivotal role in JFK's 1960 presidential campaign, becoming a talented, decisive, and uncompromising campaign manager. When JFK became president, Bobby was appointed Attorney General, a powerful position he used not only to enforce the law but also to wage an uncompromising war against organized crime and to champion civil rights. He was JFK's right-hand man, his protector, the one in whom JFK could place his complete trust and share his heaviest burdens. But then, all of it crumbled on November 22, 1963. JFK's death not only took a president but also stole a piece of Bobby's soul, robbed him of his closest friend, the brother he admired. That pain didn't just etch itself into Bobby's eyes, into every line on his face. It also propelled him to carry on, to shoulder his brother's torch, even knowing that the path ahead would be fraught with peril and might conceal unforeseen tragedies. In his role as Attorney General under his brother, Robert F. Kennedy proved himself to be not only a loyal sibling but also a talented, uncompromising politician. He initiated a war that no attorney general had dared to undertake before. A direct confrontation against the mafia and organized crime syndicates, forces that had deeply embedded themselves in American society. Bobby Kennedy wielded every power of the Justice Department to attack criminal enterprises that previous administrations had either ignored or even appeased. He established a special unit dedicated to dismantling the mafia, targeting the most notorious crime bosses of the era like Jimmy Hoffa, Sam Giancana, and Carlos Marcello. Under his relentless leadership, the number of indictments related to organized crime soared to unprecedented levels. He didn't hesitate to confront even FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who was famously conservative and reluctant to acknowledge the existence of a systematic criminal organization like the mafia. This war was fraught with risks and dangers. Bobby and his family constantly received anonymous threats, chilling warnings from the underworld. But he did not falter. He believed he was fighting not just for justice but to protect the American people from the manipulation of darkness. He shattered the power of many criminal organizations, sending shockwaves through the underworld, leaving behind a legacy of determination, courage, and uncompromising opposition to crime. Beyond his fight against crime, Robert Kennedy was also a vanguard in the struggle for civil rights, one of the most burning issues in America at the time. After his brother's death, he plunged even deeper into this movement, viewing it as an indispensable part of JFK's legacy and his own personal mission. He traveled tirelessly across America, reaching every corner, every impoverished neighborhood, every forgotten community, listening intently to their heartbreaking stories, the pain suppressed for decades. He wasn't just a politician who spoke words, he truly empathized. He understood, and he acted. He became a powerful voice in support of Martin Luther King Jr., pushing for civil rights and voting rights legislation, and fearlessly confronting staunch segregationists. Bobby believed that justice could not be denied or delayed based on skin color or origin. He witnessed injustice and suffering firsthand, and that compelled his ceaseless action. He deeply understood that inequality was an insidious threat to American democracy, a stain that needed to be cleansed. Despite facing fierce opposition from many sides, from conservatives to overt racists, he persevered, steadily building a strong bridge between the White House and the civil rights movement, becoming one of the most fervent defenders of the marginalized, offering them hope for a more equal future. In 1968, America was engulfed in chaos and profound division. The Vietnam War had fractured public trust. Anti-war protests erupted everywhere, and racial segregation remained a festering, unhealing wound. Incumbent President Lyndon B. Johnson was losing public support, and the nation yearned for change. In this tumultuous climate, a voice emerged, a call of hope and transformation, a voice Americans trusted most. Robert F. Kennedy decided to run for president. Bobby's decision to run for president was a moment fraught with risk and immense challenge. A profound personal sacrifice. He had to contend with powerful opponents within the Democratic Party. But Bobby possessed a unique advantage, one no one else could claim. He was the embodiment of the Kennedy legacy, a symbol of the hope and change that JFK had brought. He crisscrossed America relentlessly, day by day, hour by hour, reaching every corner, every impoverished neighborhood, every forgotten community, listening to heart-wrenching stories and unspoken yearnings. He spoke directly to the people, without concealing the truth or using flowery rhetoric. He wasn't just a politician who spoke skillfully, he was sincere. He was pragmatic, and he delivered a powerful message of unity, social justice, and an end to the war. His slogan, "Let's fight against social injustice," touched the very depths of the hearts of millions of Americans, especially minorities, working-class people, and young individuals who craved real change. He forged a unique coalition, breaking down social and racial barriers, connecting people who seemed impossible to unite. He was the only one capable of healing the wounds of a deeply divided nation, instilling faith in a better future. On April 4, 1968. Just months after Bobby announced his candidacy, another horrific shock gripped America, paralyzing the entire nation. Martin Luther King Jr., the enduring symbol of the civil rights movement, was assassinated in Memphis. MLK's death ignited furious riots that erupted across major cities, pushing America to the brink of uncontrollable division and violence. That night, Robert Kennedy faced an angry, grieving, and volatile crowd in Indianapolis. Instead of delivering a typical political speech, he offered one of the most emotional, spontaneous, and heartfelt addresses in American history. He announced King's death, quoting Aeschylus's poem about pain, and called for unity, compassion, understanding, and non-violence. His words, spoken from the very core of his being, calmed the seething anger, and Indianapolis was one of the few cities that did not erupt in riots that night. This further solidified the fervent belief that Bobby Kennedy was the only one who could heal the nation, leading it out of the darkness. He went on to win several crucial primary elections, triumphing in Indiana and Nebraska, and especially in California, a decisive victory that opened the broad door to the Democratic Party's nomination. The path to the White House seemed wide open, and hope once again blazed fiercely in the hearts of those who believed in the Kennedy dream, the dream of a better America. In the early morning of June 5, 1968, just hours after his decisive victory in California, at the very moment when the pinnacle of power seemed within reach, and a promising future was unfolding, fate once again delivered a devastating blow to the Kennedy family. A tragedy, it seemed, was predetermined, repeating itself with agonizing precision. That night, after securing an impressive victory in the California primary, Robert F. Kennedy delivered his victory speech at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. His face beamed with joy, his eyes sparkling with hope. The crowd erupted in cheers, endless applause, and shouts of "Bobby" echoed throughout the ballroom. In that moment, he didn't just win California. He held the destiny of the Democratic Party, and the path to the White House seemed wide open before him. But it was in that very peak of glory that tragedy struck. A tragedy this family had become all too familiar with. After his speech, Bobby was directed to take a shortcut, a narrow and dimly lit passageway through the hotel kitchen to avoid the throngs of reporters and fervent fans. It was in that cramped, dark hallway that a cruel destiny awaited, lurking in the shadows. At 12:15 a.m., as Bobby was shaking hands with supporters in the kitchen, a man named Saran, a Palestinian angered by Kennedy's support for Israel, lunged forward and fired multiple shots from a .22 caliber revolver. At least 3 bullets struck Bobby, one fatally piercing the back of his head. Chaos erupted. Screams tore through the air. Bobby collapsed, his face etched with pain and shock. Those around him desperately tried to restrain Saran, while Secret Service agents and medical personnel rushed in to save Bobby. He was rushed to Good Samaritan Hospital, but his condition was critical, almost beyond hope. The entire Kennedy family, including Jacqueline Kennedy, who had endured a similar tragedy with her husband, flew to Los Angeles to be by his side in his final hours. 36 hours later, on June 6, 1968, Robert F. Kennedy took his last breath. He passed away at the age of 42, the same age as his brother JFK when he was assassinated. A chilling coincidence that further cemented the belief in the curse haunting this family. Bobby Kennedy's death once again shook America, extinguishing the vibrant new hope for a better future that had just ignited. Like JFK's death, Bobby's assassination also sparked countless conspiracy theories. Although Saran was arrested and convicted, many still believe that there was a second gunman involved in the crime. Based on evidence regarding bullet trajectories that didn't match Sirhan's position, and the number of shots recorded on audio recordings from the scene exceeded what Sirhan's gun could have fired. Was this a plot orchestrated by the Mafia, by the CIA, or by other forces unwilling to see another Kennedy assume the presidency and continue to change America? The question of whether Bobby was the victim of a larger conspiracy remains a fiercely debated and haunting topic to this day. The full truth about that fateful night remains concealed, adding to the long list of unsolved tragic mysteries of the Kennedy family. A list that only lengthens with each tragedy. __. Robert F. Kennedy's tragic passing was not only a tremendous loss for his family but also a heavy blow to a nation searching for healing and hope. The dream of a united, just America that he pursued was left unfinished, cut short by a bullet of fate, right at the threshold of success. And for the Kennedy family, Bobby's death was yet another painful, undeniable proof of the curse that seemed to dog them. A curse that had claimed one of their greatest and most passionate members. Robert F. Kennedy's legacy extends far beyond his tragic death. He is remembered not merely as a politician but as a man of compassion, of social justice, and of unwavering resilience. He dedicated his life to fighting for the disadvantaged, for civil rights, for a more equitable America, a society where no one was left behind. He was the voice of hope, a man who dared to dream of a better world and relentlessly acted to make it a reality. Despite all obstacles and dangers, though he never became president, his influence still resonates today. In the civil rights movement, in anti-poverty programs, and in the spirit of community service, a flame that never truly extinguished. But his death, along with that of his brother, left an indelible scar on the American soul, leading Americans to forever wonder: is there some unseen force manipulating events, intent on extinguishing the light and hope of this family every time they reach for greatness? Robert F. Kennedy's death is a painful reminder that the Kennedy family's curse had not yet ceased. It was a new, deeper wound, giving rise to haunting questions about fate and destiny. The remaining members, especially Ted Kennedy, the youngest sibling, would have to bear not only a great legacy but also the heavy burden of this curse. Facing their own challenges and personal tragedies, sometimes even more horrifying, proving that fame and power can come with an exorbitant price that no one can ever fully anticipate. In the next video of the Kennedy Curse series, we will explore the family's youngest brother, who had to live in the shadows of escalating tragedies, but who also strove to keep the flame of hope alive. A final, enduring flame. Ted Kennedy. Join us to learn more about the continuing secrets and tragedies of the Kennedy family.